Welcome back to the Conscious Cowboys podcast. You have your hosts, Madison and Tess.
Perfect. We're just going to keep that one in. Anyone can decipher what that meant. Perfect.
No,
But
hi.
also, welcome back.
Hi. I feel like we're on a time crunch right now, and let me explain why. We have outside of our windows this really loud grinding noise of concrete happening, and it's been happening all morning, and we finally went
Since
to look.
6 a.m.
Well, in fairness, you've been gone, and it's been happening beyond that. Like, it was happening at the end of last week.
Oh, damn.
So I just kind of made friends with
wonder.
it.
Okay, no wonder he's made so much progress. I was shocked.
Yes.
Okay.
But he's out there grinding away, and we finally went to look and see, like, what actually is this noise? And he's grinding the concrete like we thought. And there's a moment where we saw him grab his big broom, and we're like, it's go time.
Yeah, it was
record.
actually so lucky because we decided to record at this time, and then all of a sudden it got quiet, and we're like, wait, is he going on his lunch break? It could not have worked out any better.
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
So we're here, and we're here to talk about something that brings us way back to the roots of our podcast and our brand.
Right. Wellness. That's right.
Madison had this idea of kind of going back to our roots and talking about what wellness even is looking like for us these days, because it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's so many elements that have remained tried and true for us, but then there's so like it has evolved in ways that I would never even like think to classify as wellness.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, because I was thinking about like, okay, where can we even start? And then I thought, well, when, and we don't even have to explain this far into it, but maybe just like a little brief, like when did your awareness of like wellness begin? Like
I
what
mean,
age?
So like as early as I can remember.
Damn.
Like honestly, I think where it really got like solidified was high school.
Okay.
It was all thanks to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She just made it really known of like it's so important to get out, and we like walk all the time. That's our thing.
Yeah.
You and I, that's her thing too. Like getting out and going for walks. You got period cramps? Okay, let's get up, go for a walk. And it's like the last thing you want to do, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or you had a long, hard day at school, or like you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, let's go for a walk. So that tool was introduced early on. And then of course your awareness of food and how to take care of yourself. And like, I remember, I mean, I used to be the kid that like wash and blow dried their hair every single morning before school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that we know now is like not great for scalp health, but hygiene, like all of that
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like sweat a lot, like it's bad to keep the sweat on your scalp. But yes, I mean, same. But that was
Early.
also just looks purposes. Like, because I was thinking about like if I'm in comparison to your story of that, is I don't think that I classified what I was taught younger as wellness. It was mostly for weight loss. Like if I think about like how my mom started to put healthier options in the house, which healthier options was like diet Snapple and like, you know, that kind of stuff. It was mostly for weight loss and like, yes, exercising to get strong, but also to look a certain way. So I feel like my idea of wellness evolved maybe towards the end of high school, but it was on my own accord versus my parents instilling it in me. And I think, or I know it had to do with my environmental science class and being introduced to like plant-based. And then all of a sudden I was like, let's monitor everything I eat. And then it just went way too strict. Yeah, it went off the rails. Like the pendulum swung just in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But in the right direction, I guess, because it got me to where I am now. But yeah, it was an intense journey.
Okay. And then I feel like when we met and what we really took pride in the beginning of our like podcast and our brand was how we took care of ourselves, but we used a lot of like tools. Like I remember in the early days we would make episodes about like what we're using
Yes.
that is wellness related.
It
like
was external
like a
purposes.
gua sha tool. And you're like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, that is amazing for you. And I still incorporate it to this day.
Totally same.
But my scope of like how to take care of myself and what it means to be well is so different.
Yeah, I would agree. And so we're going to get to the point of actually what different means. Because I was trying to think, I was like, yeah, we keep seeing, keep saying that it's different. But how do we even define it? Like now I feel like we're more of a holistic approach and where we're reaching for things that are maybe more internal or more natural versus just going for the next tool that's being sold to us.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more intuitive. For example, being out in nature as a wellness tool, like taking advantage of like our outside environment and being with Mother Nature, which also reflects upon us, and we can have this internal dialogue with ourselves as we're hiking, and also just work on our cardiovascular health. Like it's all in one.
Yeah. I mean, I even like when I was thinking about how do I take care of myself? Like, what does that look like? Yes, it's going out on walks, and yes, it's, exercising consistently, and yes, it's eating, nourishing foods that help promote my hormonal balance and my source of energy. But it's like even things that I historically wouldn't have put in an episode, like deep cleaning my home and taking care of my space. Like keeping my laundry basket on rotation, like just clear it out, like get your laundry done, like all this stuff that it was so programmed into me to just keep. Like I've always kept my house clean, I've always kept my clothes clean and stuff, but recognizing that even like a little gap in how often I do that actually takes a huge toll on me. And then so last weekend I was like, God, I feel like I haven't deep cleaned our house in so long. Like the real deep clean, like cleaning inside your sink. Like you ever lift up the drain, like the little rubber thing and clean under, like that type of stuff we were getting into.
I will never forget that you mentioned this on another episode, that we eat a lot of ground meat. So that is a really relevant practice for us, because when we're cleaning our pans, the fat from the meat gets stuck in the drain. Does that happen to anyone else?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it has to, unless we use
we
like
think we're using the wrong soap.
Dr. Bronner's like bullshit
we're trying
soap.
to be natural, but that's just not abrasive enough, I don't think.
No, it doesn't cut the fat. I think it's a big fat party. So we have to clean it out. But like that type of stuff where like you take care of your space, which frees up space in your mind. Like I hate nothing more than walking with a bare foot in my house and then being like,
crunching on
what
stuff.
What is that
Dude.
on my foot?
And we're barefoot constantly. And so it's a necessity. No, yeah, that's a really good one. I'm trying to think of one that I wrote down. Okay, so overall, I feel like, yes, holistic approach more so now. So it means not only food, sleep, rest, movement, the obvious pillars, also things like taking care of your space, which translates to taking care of yourself. Okay, so there's that. And then I was thinking, okay, the broader picture of like what helps take the pressure off like my wellness practices now is that like I'm just trying to set myself up for a better future, like for longevity, and that takes the pressure off of things. So if one day I don't eat enough, or I don't eat enough protein, or whatever it is, I don't sleep my 8 hours, that's okay, because I'm in this for the long haul and I have the rest of my life to sleep 8 hours. Like it's okay. And so it takes the pressure off of things. So I'm not just like too strict on myself, because me and my relationship with discipline, like that's just an ongoing back and forth. And I can be really strict. It's like very easy for me to be strict. So if I just take the pressure off of myself in that way of like, okay, we're taking the long game, like longevity, you can chill. Like it's okay that you didn't have 100 grams of protein today. Not the end of the world. Like you're going to be okay. Yeah. We love it.
Yeah, we do. That's so important, because as you're saying, it takes the pressure off. And that's, I think, a really great way of describing it, because when you're working on yourself, no matter what that looks like, whether that's doing Duolingo every single day to help you learn a new language, or going to work out or hike or whatever that looks like for you, or eating enough of your, macros, whatever, right? If all you're doing is like hyper fixating on this day because it's such an important goal for you, then you lose sight of the bigger picture, and you realize like all of this stuff is cumulative. It all adds up. So yeah, this one day it matters, but it's not going to be the drop in the bucket that makes it overflow.
Right.
Like you're okay if today wasn't where you thought it should be.
And then I could even argue that if you're trying to be at 100% every single day, that can translate to being unhealthy.
Yeah.
And
also
we've
a
all been there.
recipe. Yeah. Recipe for burnout, and not like you feel like you're not keeping promises to yourself, because your promise is, I don't want to say it's unattainable, but like it doesn't factor in that there's other elements that are always pretty unpredictable in your day. I think I can be like that when it comes to moving my body. Like I set this goal of like, I'm going to move every single day. And then some days something pops up and I can't quite get to it in the morning. And then before I know it, it's time to do something else at lunch. And then, okay, I'll go for my walk at night. But I didn't get my like structured workout in. And then I'm hard on myself because that's a goal I set was to structured move every single day.
Yes.
You know what, sis, you got your walk in.
Yeah, you did.
You're
get
good.
Movement, you got sunshine.
And you're really consistent. So just take a deep breath.
Well, and I'm also really proud of that mindset shift for the both of us because we've mentioned this on the podcast, but the quote that we posted on our Instagram of being a relaxed woman, like I think that just really embodies it. It just takes the pressure off and we can ease into our flow.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And something else that I can bring up in regards to this is when you think about your little decisions every single day, like, you know, eating enough food. I might not have fueled my body amazing yesterday, but I did already today. Like I'm well on my track. And I look back at the past 6 months and this is, you know, I'm an oversharer classic, right? I've had my period consistently come every 30 days for the past 6-7 months. That has not happened in my life. Like
that's amazing.
I do get it, but it's not that regular. And it's because over the past 6-7 months, I put a lot of emphasis on eating more and more frequently and more balanced meals. I'm like actually trying to take care of myself because I talked about doing it for so long and I didn't do it. Right. So then I was like, okay, get it done. But as you're saying, if you're so focused on it, you feel like you're not going to hit your goal. So maybe it's helpful, as you were saying last week, to kind of zoom out and think, okay, perspective shift here. I've been doing great. This one day is not going to throw off my momentum. Like it's all still working towards the goal.
Yeah, it's so true. And I feel like I could actually do a whole episode on hormonal health and periods. And maybe we need to circle back to that because that is so important. And I always explain, we've heard this online, but when I try to explain hormones or periods to my cousin and we say like monthly report card, I genuinely think that is true, obviously for women. And having my period regular for the last year, which is like the first time in my entire life, and I'm almost 30 that's happened. And it has seriously, I feel like having a period as a woman is an actual superpower. Like I genuinely believe that it is because I don't know. I just feel like having it regularly has also like heightened my spiritual evolution as well, which is interesting that goes hand in hand. And I'm sure that there's many books that say that yes, that makes sense, but it just has. And like diving into my wellness routine and taking care of myself has really aided in that health of my period, thus my spiritual evolution.
Just maybe more connected, like maybe a layman's way of wording it is just like more connected to yourself. Like you're aware of your body, you're aware of your mind, and then how that evolves over the course of a month.
Yes. And just like, yes, exactly. And just the cycles of it and having to experience it on a monthly basis, it really does help you check in with how you've been doing.
Yeah. It's funny. Every month I'm like, oh, we're here again. That mood.
Yeah.
She's back.
Yeah. I think that too. I thought that today because I will probably get my period within the next like 10 days or so. And you're just like, okay, luteal phase, luteal, however you want to say it. It's different. And it's different every month.
Yes.
Not every single month. Sometimes you have 2 to 3 months. It's very similar. But then sometimes you're just like, why is that making me mad right now? Who is that?
Did anyone listen to last week's episode?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to blame it all on that. No, I was on it. Like, in Yosemite, I was approaching it. And then when we got home, I was on it. And I think that made like everything so much more heightened.
I mean, it does. We've said this, like that it just drops the veil and you're just so aware. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Superpower. I'm telling you, it's fucking awesome.
What else do you have on there? I see you have a whole list, which I love.
Well, okay. I have, so we talk about communication a lot. Obviously, we have a podcast. And I think that has been something that I've incorporated in my wellness routine. And it's helped me a lot because I'm a self-soother and I've been that way since I was a kid. and I like to journal. I like to be by myself, and I'm still very much like that. But I have noticed that it is very helpful to talk things out with the people around me. And it does actually lift a weight off of my shoulders a lot of times, because then you or Phil or my dad, my cousin, whoever can share the experience with me. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm not alone. Like, and also I'm not alone. Plus I have the support of these people. Like, I can fucking do this.
Yeah.
And I think also discerning between sharing and what's worth sharing, and then also noticing what needs to be kept to myself. And that's a good one too. And that's when I journal. And I think, oh, well, I don't really need to share that because it's just, I don't know, not useful, or I still am working through it in my head and I don't need to like let it out in the open just yet.
That one is a territory that I'm not familiar with. It's like the nicest way of putting it. Like, everything that comes into my head, this is all thanks to my lovely mother. Everything that comes into my head pretty much gets shared to a degree.
Yes.
And I'm working that out for myself, but that's really subjective to try to decipher what you should share and what you shouldn't share.
Yeah, I think it's just up to you as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way I make the decision. Or if, you know, someone around me is going through something and I think maybe I'll just let them have, you know, their moment. This isn't really going to aid to that. So we'll just sit back for a sec.
Huh. Sometimes I think, though, like if we're on this topic, that if someone's going through it and they've got their situation, hearing how someone else's life has experienced a similar wave is so helpful. And I know a lot of times it's all about the approach of that person and how they explain or relate to the other, because it can feel like you're just ripping the rug out from them and like they're looking for support, and here you are, like, people think they're stealing the conversation. It's all about them. It's, you know, fill in the blank.
And I agree with you, is that I do agree that if I were to share something that, you know, is relative to what you're going through, then we share that experience together, and then it enhances the moment or what you're going through, and maybe you'll learn something. But then sometimes I think it's just like a feeling that you get, or it's like, oh, if I say this one thing, it's going to start making it about me, and I don't need that. Like, I've had multiple we've had this conversation on a podcast where I was upset one day on a walk, and we were talking about something that you were dealing with, and I started making it about me in my head, and I was like, well, this isn't going to aid to the conversation because I need to work through it in my head before I talk to you the next morning about this. So I'm just going to be quiet.
Got it.
Yeah, because I'm just like, but I'm also like so aware of like stealing the show, which I don't think I ever really steal the show. So I'm just like try to sit back a lot, which is a hindrance to me a lot of times, but it's just something to work through.
I don't know. I just feel like there's so much value add in sharing experiences, even in moments where it feels tough for the other person. Because if anything, I view it as a tool to help get some of that energy off of that one thing. Right. So if I'm sitting here explaining to you something that I'm going through and it feels really heavy for me, but then you were to open up and share something that you have previously gone through and how it kind of relates, then my brain goes, oh, well, she's here now. And this was just a moment in time. So then this is probably just a moment in time for me. I know it feels really heavy and hyper-focused right now, but.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how, like Tess and I talk about this a lot, is like also with me branching into like communicating effectively, is that I like to have like healthy debates or like healthy dialogue where it's like, I think it's really beneficial when people disagree with one another, because then you come to like some conclusion that neither of you maybe have thought of, and it just opens your mind further, and you're not even doing it for the outcome of you guys both agreeing with each other, you know? So then it makes me think about this, because I don't know how to explain it in my head, but there is this specific situation that happened where it's like, yes, I see what you're saying of like, it does enhance it. But like, if I'm thinking about things that kind of have to do with it, but it's like off topic of like, I think on that walk, I was like comparing myself to how you where you were at in life. Like it had to do with like you getting married and you're going to have kids within the next year and like all this stuff. And I'm just like sitting there like being really hard on myself and thinking about that specific thing. Like I was pulling it out of that conversation, which in the broader scheme of things, it had nothing to do with me at all. So I didn't want to be like, yeah, I'm really quiet right now because I'm just thinking about me and how I'm not going to be married and not have kids soon. Like me, you know?
Yeah, no, I get
so
it.
like that is when I'm just like, I'm just going to sit back because I'm taking this the wrong way. Like my doubts and like disbelief in self are a rain cloud over my head. So I'm just going to chill, give some advice. Great. And then I'll talk to you in the morning about this. You know, like I need to journal on this.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Everyone's approach is different. And
yes,
me living with you for the past couple years has been a major learning lesson in that, because while we have so much in common, we are such different people. And especially in this way, how we approach like what's going on internally and how we share that with the world is very different.
Yeah, it is. And same. And I think that I would have not have noticed that or noticed this within myself of like communication being a wellness tool if I wasn't friends with you, if I didn't live with you. So it's really positive.
Yeah. That's good.
No, I love it. I think that it's like really upped my health in general.
Yeah. And I would say like also when you feel understood,
dude,
because you're able
like
to articulate
a
yourself
goal in life. I don't think I can even call it a goal. That is just like a yearning that I have in life, is like to be understood.
Yeah.
Like
think about when you're able to communicate your thoughts, beliefs, needs, wants with someone effectively, and they're able to understand you fully, and there's very little like gray area or confusion. That feels so good. Whether that's communicating with your boss or your partner or your friend or your parent, whatever that might look like, if you can get out what you've been like holding in and that weight that gets lifted, like absolutely that's a part of wellness. Being able to share and like make changes for what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that it just is tricky and not as glamorized, because when we think of wellness routines, we think of what that does to us externally. How do we look now? Because we've incorporated gua sha, now our jaw's tighter. We facial massage, now I have less wrinkles around my eyes, and I work out every day, so my body's tighter, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, totally. I engage in a lot of those things too. And the goal also is sometimes physical, but it's shifting more towards an internal perspective. And I think there's a lot of power in that too.
Okay, well, let's even go down further, right? So if you are using communication as like a wellness practice, right, you're able to not hold on to as much tension, which probably would relieve where you're holding the stress in your body, whether that be your forehead, your jaw, your shoulders. So if we are going to talk about how like maybe stress would affect your physical appearance, I think it's massive.
Yes, of course.
So then it does tie back into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely does.
We just agree with each other the whole podcast. Yeah.
Well, no, it does tie in. I'm just saying that it's a longer route than, you know, working out every day and everyone's like, we're going to do that because we know how to do that. And that's easy. And there's a set schedule of like Tuesdays legs, Wednesdays arms, whatever. You have a split or something. Dealing with stress, that's just an ongoing thing day to day, where it's like, God, we got to dig ourselves out of this fucking hole right now. And that sucks. But we're going to look good and also be mentally clear. Right?
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's just so true.
Oh my gosh, it is. And it's just, I mean, I also think circling back to just setting ourselves up for future us is so powerful.
Yeah, but okay, one more thing on this communication, because it's like
we can have 10 more things.
The thought has been like sitting at the forefront, and I don't know if I've communicated it, which is funny because it's in alignment with that.
Okay.
But when it comes to like needing to communicate something, or just being an effective communicator in general, that frees up your space mentally so much. So like just being confident in who you are and what you have to say, and then being able to express that to whoever needs to hear it, and then moving on gives you so much of your energy back versus like sitting and dwelling and being like, oh my God, I really need to just tell this
It's
person
so
this one
true.
thing.
It honestly instills more confidence within self. I mean, it's definitely done that for me, because typically a really shy and quiet child, and now I feel like I have this voice. Not only, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast, or if I've mentioned it, of like I have a very strong inner dialogue and inner world that I want to present outwardly, and I think that communication has helped me do that. And I'm still obviously unraveling things, but it's really cool to see the evolution. Well, I have this like belief. So this is related but not related. Is like I've been thinking about how like the future, this has to do with what we're talking about sort of. But I've been thinking about how like the future is obviously not promised to us, and how it's actually just some idea that we make up in our head. So then by me saying like I'm setting myself up for like future Madison that actually like doesn't exist. So then I think, okay, maybe I'm just setting myself up for the rest of the day or for tomorrow. Again, taking pressure off of everything. I know that's like otherworldly weird thinking, but I think about that a lot.
No.
And it also helps me remain grateful and like stay really present, is because I'm like, well, I'm just making up this story in my head of what the future is going to be, and I'm not even guaranteed that.
Yeah.
So let's just chill and live for right now.
Ay, ay, ay.
I think about that probably every 3 hours.
It's
helpful.
Frequent.
It's helpful because I have to like, because sometimes, you know, when you're just like sitting and you're just mood shifts for a second, you're like, where'd I go? Like, what happened? So then it's just like that natural check-in for me where I'm like, all right, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's usually because I'm not being present. I'm thinking like, oh my God, how is this one thing going to change like 3 weeks from now? I'm like, okay, just relaxed. That's not promised to you. Be here right now.
Yeah. And I think we all know that. And every time I bring up like the other day, I think I say this a lot to you guys, is like like if Philip leaves to go to work in the morning, I get like emotional and I'm like, no, like come home to me. Okay. And he's like, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, but like, because you can't promise that, you know, because I'm aware of how delicate this whole thing is. Everything we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening to this, you don't know what's next. And that's a horrible thought, because we all want to believe that
we have some control and some stability over our current situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't.
But we really don't. But we can control our wellness practices. Just full circle. But also it's just like engaging. I think the overall goal for me is just engaging in things on a daily basis that help me to enjoy life. Like, how can I not be strict on myself and use discipline for the better for myself and still be able to enjoy this body that I was gifted and the environment I'm in? Like, what can I do today to make that possible so that it's just maximum enjoyment? Whatever that looks like for you. Obviously, we have different definitions of what enjoyment means. Not, I'm saying between you and me, but just everyone.
Yeah.
Collectively. So I think deciding that and then moving forward with the tools that you choose to engage in regarding wellness.
Yeah. Okay, I've got two.
Okay.
One is complaining less.
Okay.
Because I think we can all find ourselves in moments where it's just like, and there we have like this sense of entitlement of like, why is this happening to us? Woe is me.
Yeah.
And getting yourself out of that state where you are focused less on the problem. And again, we've been talking about this, but like zooming out and thinking about the bigger picture and how this symptom that you're experiencing or this event that's occurring isn't really going to matter in a little bit. So let's not fixate on it and harp on it too much. And then, oh shit, what was my other one?
Oh no.
Oh no.
I also feel like we have a pretty good relationship with complaining. I remember I used to, when I lived with my old roommate in Santa Barbara, and we would just be like, all right, just for a second, we just need to complain, like just for a little bit. Like we need to have a little powwow. Let's talk shit for the next 15 minutes and then we're good. Yeah. You know, it's just like get it off your chest and then we're fine. And I feel like we do that too, because we don't really just do that in life, you know? No. Like, and one thing that I noticed, it's like, this is a really big example, I feel like, with women in general, is you'll say something negative or, you know, a woman will about their body to another woman. And everyone knows that just brings morale down. It brings the room down. And you're allowed to say that. But I just think maybe minimizing it a little bit. And that's like something you can decide for yourself too, of like, if I say this right now, what is the outcome of me saying this? Is it because I need to get something off my chest and I feel like genuinely this is a problem that my thighs look bigger today? Or is it because I just want to say it because I'm in my own shitstorm and I just, you know.
90% of the time it's shitstorm.
Right. Like, does this matter right now? Yeah. Because I really dislike that when I'm in a room with women or just with one or something. And it's okay, like I was saying, to like get things off your chest. Maybe preface that at the beginning and say like, hey, I'm having a really bad body image day. This is why. Because I feel like my skin is horrible today. Whatever it is. Okay. That's okay. Let's talk about this openly. But if you're just shitting on yourself constantly, I'm sorry. Please stop doing that. That does not make you feel good. And it really doesn't make the women around you or people around you feel good either. And I just really want to stop normalizing that behavior for women. Oh, I just really dislike it. Yeah. Did you remember your other one in my ramble?
No, because I was listening to you.
Okay,
you know?
well, thank you for being an active listener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like it was right there, and it went along with not complaining. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was talking with our friend Nadia about complaining because I was explaining to her like what I went through on the Half Dome hike. Like I honestly think that weekend was really pivotal for me. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Like when you're put in situations like that, you're really confronted with a lot of things that you're not confronted with on like a perfect day, on an ideal day. So they come to the surface and you're like, oh my God, I really have to sink or swim right now.
Yeah. Or like being confronted with like real fear.
Yeah.
You know, that's something else. But I was like, shit, I think that I'm a complainer. And she was like, oh my God, I know I'm a complainer. Like it's bad.
Dude, just owning it.
Yeah.
Badass.
Yeah. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm really working to not be that. Like, I don't want to be that. I don't like that in other people. And I don't want to be that for myself. And then she's like, okay, all right, here's Nadia's perspective. It's okay to loop other people in, right?
Yes.
Madison, Phillip, I have a stomach ache on this hike right now where I think I'm going to poop my pants. Like, it's not good. Okay. I'm like stressing it. Okay. But if I bring it up 5 more times, what's the goal?
Right.
She was explaining her husband, if he gets a bug bite, he gets really itchy.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, I get it. Like you've got itchy bug bites. I've had itchy bug bites too. Tell me you've got itchy bug bites and then don't bring it up again.
Okay. That's funny. Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was noteworthy. I was like, yeah. Maybe it's okay if I loop everybody in on one time.
Yeah.
And then we move on.
And that's, yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying too, is like, it is okay. But if that just becomes your general narrative, I feel like it is then something to look at.
Yeah.
And then obviously like assessing like, well, why am I saying this out loud? Is it because I need support? Is it because it'll help me feel better? And if that's the reason, then that's okay. But maybe even just like saying it of like, I just really need like a hug right now. My stomach hurts, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. It's interesting.
Yeah. Something else very wellness related for me lately is trying to find, this is so cliche, but like trying to find a little bit more like balance and space within myself. I was talking about this with another friend yesterday of just like when you're so focused in one area of your life, let's use work as an example. I think everyone can relate to that. If you're so focused on work, then you don't have a lot of energy to expend elsewhere, whether that's on your relationships or yourself or your passions, whatever it may be. So being able to peel a little bit of that energy out, like still giving it your all, still giving it a really solid effort and feeling good about your work is different from being consumed by your work. And I am working on that right now on a work front. And it's just like a personal thing where I think when I do something, my work ethic is so strong that I just want to go all in. And even if I tie it back to last week's hike, Like my work ethic to go do that hike was so there. And then like when it didn't line up, it was so frustrating. It's just like, that's a driver for me, is like, go get it done. Whatever it takes, go get it done. And then if you don't hit that goal, you feel like, so defeated, right?
So then potentially your self-worth is rooted in your productivity.
Yes. And we can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
We got to change that up. That might be part of your self-worth, but it can't be your only driver is productivity.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good realization to have.
Yeah. Have I derailed this podcast entirely?
No, I don't think so. I think this is good. I was just thinking, okay, well, since you just named some wellness practices that you're doing that are untraditional, now it's my turn to do so.
Absolutely.
So then I was thinking, okay, well, what are mine? Like, I don't know if I have specific wellness practices right now besides things that I guess are just like very basic. Again, finding balance in rest and also the version of me that wants to go 1,000 miles per hour at all times, because I don't know why, but that mode is a lot easier, is the go, go, go Madison versus the rest Madison. So I think finding whatever, balance is there. I don't know if I'll ever find middle of the road, if there is a middle of the road for that, but just treading lightly with those things, because I love nothing more than to, like, for example, I love to work out and move my body. And if I have a lot of time during the day, like, I only want to be doing that. And then I think, okay, well, is this healthy for my body? Is this simply a coping mechanism for me not wanting to sit still? Like, what is going on here? Or is it simply because I just like to exercise? Like, I just want to find that balance, because then my body's super tired and I'm like, okay, well, now you can't work out today because you just went hard the last 3 weeks. Like, you need to just not go so hard in one direction and just find your middle space. So I think I'm always working on that. And then again, obviously, like, not being hard on myself for maybe going too far in one direction on certain days. The hard on myself one is obviously, like, that's always difficult for me, but taking the pressure off of myself with my wellness routine has helped me a lot with that, because I know that I'm not perfect, and that's more than okay. And yeah, and also, like, that is really interesting, because I always feel like I have, like, something to, like, uphold, like, with the people around me, of, like, that I need to, like, present this, like, perfect persona all the time. And I think that, like, I'm also working on that, of, like, well, you can just, like, chill. But then I'm like, what does chill look like for me? I don't know. Chill is, like, not chill for me. Like, my chill is not normal chill.
No.
And
I think, like, just hearing you speak about it, you're saying it's easier to go at 100 miles an hour than it is to rest. And I think that's just because it's what's more comfortable for you, for whatever the reasons may be. It's just been your default for so long.
Yes.
That it's just easy to revert back into that state.
Yeah.
And being a more relaxed woman, as you've been saying, like, this is what's really inspiring you these days, getting yourself out of that 100-mile-an-hour lane and slowing down is just part of your journey right now.
Yes, for sure. And I was saying this on an audio message earlier to my cousin, is just, I need to be able to sit in that discomfort of slowing down, because I know on an intuitive level that is what is good for my health and my overall longevity. Not completely sitting still forever, like, some days, yeah, I need to, but just finding that space and not letting it make me feel bad or, like, guilty that I'm doing it, which is really helpful that I've taken up reading this year, because my mind is going, but I'm able to sit still and rest my body, because I move my body a lot. So I need that time. Like, how can I expect maximum output all the time?
Oh my God. I am going to laugh so hard when Madison ends up dating someone who's just like, can you just just chill the fuck out, Madison?
Like, no. Yeah,
Like
I
Madison,
know.
we're just gonna go and we're just gonna sit, and we're just gonna be.
Dude, I know I need that. I literally do think I need that just so I can have like someone teach me that. But I was even laughing. We can end it after this. But I was laughing with my dad because we hiked 30 miles. Like we did strenuous exercise the Yosemite weekend. And then I think the Monday we traveled, I like went for a walk. And then the next day I was like up and running, doing my regular routine. And I was just talking with my dad and I was like, do elite athletes do that? Like, what is their rest routine? Like, maybe that would be really helpful for me to look up because I'm thinking that all these people are just like doing the same normal shit every single day. And I'm not taking into account, like, you're different every day. Like, I do know this and I've shared that on the podcast. I'm very aware that your rhythms change daily. But like, I was expecting myself to be like hyper speed a day after hiking 30 miles. And I'm like, why do I think that that's normal?
Because you've got one speed
I
right
know.
now.
So I'm just like, okay, we're just observing that and seeing how we can take some things away and see what that feels like.
I also think it's noteworthy that at this time in your life, you are, I mean, we all are like individuals, right? We're all solo.
Yeah.
But right now, you don't have a romantic partner.
Yeah.
And so your days are solely up to you.
Yeah. Like I want to do a lot of shit.
Yes.
I know.
And at a certain point, with a partner and potentially with children too, that's going to look very different. So I'm excited to see how our not promised future plays out,
Yeah.
to see if this is like truly who you are or if this is circumstantial.
Right. No, that's a really good point. I don't know.
Time
I
will
guess
tell.
we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully. No, yeah, it will. It will.
I think there's always going to be this high energy level, which I love about you because on days where I'm not functioning at high energy, I can kind of ride your wave and it's nice.
That's good.
Yeah. But then other days where I'm like, oh my God,
I know.
no, not
Like, I
today.
can't do
No
it.
one's home.
I know. It's so weird because I feel like I'm like naturally very calm, which I am calm in some ways, but I just do have a lot of energy as well.
Well, your energy is calm. Mm-hmm. But the storage of it is
Plentiful.
a deep well.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't
truly
run
is.
out until we've gone too far. And I've seen that where we're just like, see you tomorrow.
gotta check
It's
out.
7 p.m. Go to your room.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to see you until the morning.
Yeah, it's true. That does happen.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel, okay, thank God. Like that
There
is
it
so
is.
human. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank God for
We
that.
hit it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway,
Anyway.
it's 12:19. We're doing good. We're going to end the podcast here though, I feel.
Yes.
Obviously, we could go on about our wellness practices, but they're evolving every day. So this will just be an ongoing thing.
Well, I think if there's any like tone or message to take away from this episode for us, and maybe if you're listening still,
If you're still
that was so
listening.
insecure of me. if you're, trying to extract something here, it's just recognizing that, as we've always said, wellness isn't one size fits all, and what works for me doesn't work for Madison, and same for you, and that it's okay for it to change. In fact, you should embrace the change and welcome it and maybe even look for it, because you can get so regimented in your routine that you don't really realize what is and isn't working until maybe you feel like shit, or maybe you feel like, wow, what have I been focused on this whole time? So expand, like maybe if you're going to do an exercise from this, it's just thinking about, well, what does it actually mean for me? Like, what do I do that makes me feel whole and more like myself and taken care of? Is that doing your laundry? Is that going for a hike? Is that a combination of it all? Like, what does it look like for you? And then when you have your list, how do you incorporate more of it into your week or your month?
Right.
Not on a daily basis. If that's too pressure, don't do that. Give yourself more time. And then see how you can infuse more of it into your life and see how that makes a difference.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I would even add into that is just like being honest about what you need. Because if I think about it in relation to myself of like, okay, tomorrow we got a 6:30 a.m. heated yoga class. If I wake up tomorrow and I'm tired, all right, we're not going. Like, it's okay. You're going to pay the $10 fee and you're just going to sleep and we'll go for a walk later. Like, that's okay. Like, not being afraid of what your body is telling you. And then also I would add trial and error. Like, we're big on trial and error in this household. And although that is not sexy a lot of the time, it just is what life is about. And especially when you're trying to figure out what works for you on an individual level, trial and error is your friend. And not being disappointed by the outcomes or trying your best not to be, just moving forward and doing the damn thing.
Yeah. And not associating your self-worth to those items.
Correct.
Like letting things exist without you being so attached to it.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Great stuff.
We went all over the place today.
I think we did a good job.
But it was
really
fun.
Good. Yeah.
It felt light and airy besides the moment where I felt like, what was I going to say?
Okay. Well, that's good. I feel like we did a good job. Like, I had no intentions going into this episode besides the fact that I feel like I hadn't really talked all day. And so I feel really
we
good
haven't
about
really
this.
said anything much.
Yeah.
We've been in our own quarters getting
Yeah.
work done.
So then I thought before, I was like, all right, well, let's do this. And it turned out really well. I feel proud of it.
Good.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. If you did listen all the way through, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And then you guys, until next week.
Talk soon. Cute.